In a little bit less than 2 weeks, the animated version of Steel Ball Run will finally be released. And one thing I've always wondered about it, as someone who has read the manga, I wonder what people are gonna actually like get from it, because there is a very clear theme that I think the entire Steel Ball Run like shows, and I do truly wonder if people will get the right message from the show. And the reason why I got thinking about this is because I saw a quote from the I'm assuming English voice actor for Johnny Joestar in the anime. So I want to like show the quote first, and then I want to like go in and see if people are going to actually understand a lot of the subtext and themes of Steel Ball Run. So the quote right here from Damon Mills, the voice actor for Johnny Joestar, says, "The White House has now decided to sample media like anime and video games, stooping so low as to use my colleagues' voices for Trump's war propaganda. I guarantee you, most if not all these different people that you are using their likeness to perpetuate your regime do not stand or agree with your message of violence, division, and hate. The blatant disrespect makes me sick." And so, like, now I'm obviously going to talk a little bit in the spoilers of Steel Ball Run. So if you have not seen or if you've not read the manga and you plan on watching it for the first time, I'd probably click away. But for people, or for people who really don't care too much, or people who have seen it, I kind of want to talk about how like this quote is kind of encapsulating the idea of Steel Ball Run, and also just curiosities I have for if people are going to actually understand what the show is about. So, unsurprisingly, the manga and the story, where the entire purpose is that they want to kill the president of the United States, is not the most blatant, praise of the United States of America. And like it immediately starts off pretty obviously that the United States aren't the good guys in the show, in the story, because immediately we get Soundman, who is only in Steel Ball Run to try and buy the land for his people back from settlers who stole the land from his people. Immediately, the United States is proven to be like an imperialist, colonialist entity that is not the best thing ever. And it's forcing a guy to do this like long race to basically fight for money for his people so that they can buy their land back. And that's kind of one part of like the criticism of the United States that Steel Ball runs about. It's kind of just a massive criticism of like American exceptionalism and American colonialism. And a big thing comes, and big thing is revealed about that with Funny Valentine's like final evolution of Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I do not remember the exact variation of the name, but the idea is that his stand can basically redirect misfortune to himself, to just a random other motherfucker in the world. And the idea is his plan is to use like Jesus Christ's corpse to basically redirect any misfortune from the United States onto any poor country that he decides to direct it to, or just it might happen to be directed to. And this is kind of like very clearly a criticism of what the United States kind of does with like imperialism and colonialism, where like they just kind of redirect any of their issues, or like kind of reap the tragedies of other countries for their own benefit. That's kind of like a very clearly obvious criticism of the United States, even if it's like not just him directly saying I want to redirect pain to other countries. Obviously, Iraqi is very kind of implying that that's kind of one of his criticisms of the United States, is that the United States is willing to just do unheard like damage to other countries if it means the protection of the United States. And I feel like a lot of people are going to miss the point of that, and I feel like a lot of people are going to overly sympathize with Funny Valentine, who is very, very clearly the antagonist of the story, and he's just not right in any way. And I think another thing that's going to be interesting too, and I wonder if they put this exactly at the end, but when the race ends, when the Steel Ball Run ends, it kind of goes along the lines of, and like the narrator kind of goes along the lines of saying like, a lot of people died on the Steel Ball Run. A lot of lives were lost, but it did not matter in the eyes of the American public, because it effectively reignited patriotism, and it stoked the ideas of patriotism in the United States, which then also comes off as a criticism of the United States, because once again, it just shows that people in the United States are willing to sacrifice whoever the fuck, as long as it does not affect them personally, if it means expanding and poking and stoking the flames of patriotism in the United States. Now, obviously, these aren't the most like obvious things I get from it, but like it is very clear, if you just think about it a little bit, that the entirety of Steel Ball Run is a bit of a criticism of the United States of America, especially when you think about like Funny Valentine's idea of power, where he's just like, I want the United States, and I want me to have the power that is equivalent to Jesus Christ, where it's like, I want the one who makes the decisions. I want to be the one who are like, if you're sitting at a table with Jesus Christ, you're gonna let him make the first move when it comes to like picking what side or what like silverware you use. He kind of it wants like that to be United States, and so it's like that's like kind of the big criticism of American exceptionalism too. Is that like the president of the United States wanting to be the person who just dictates and dominates the entirety of any country's actions is kind of what the United States does right now. And it's kind of, a criticism of the United States using their power as like a global superpower to simply just get what they want and determine how people act rather than, doing what's best and what people want and waiting for other people to act and supporting them. And so this is kind of just like a random video, but I do really wonder, and I've always wondered since it got announced, because, I'm assuming a lot more people will watch the anime than read the manga, if people will actually properly understand the message behind Steel Ball Run in its entirety. Because I don't think it's going to be true. I'm going to be really unhappy if people are like sympathizing with fucking Funny Valentine, because that guy is very clearly not a good dude in any capacity anyway. But like, I wouldn't be surprised because once again, he does have like the stars and stripes like scarred into his back or whatever. He's a very clearly patriotic American dude, and I think a lot of people are going to say like, oh, he's base and oh, he's cool, even though there's a lot of like thematic elements going into it in the fact that you should not like the president of the United States in this scenario, Funny Valentine, and also just like the ideas that he stands for with like colonialism, American exceptionalism that blindly like flaunts its power, and also just like the United States' willingness to sacrifice like other countries in order to protect themselves and also like expand their power. And I'm not saying like you should go and like watch this entire anime with just like that lens of just like, yes, I hate the United States of America, even though you might come out and like think that, because once again the United States of America in this idea is not a good thing. It's just something to know, and something I kind of wanted to talk about, especially for like people who have read it and maybe also like got these same themes from it. Just a sheer curiosity of the media literacy of people, because once again we have a shocking decline in media literacy and people's ability to think critically about the stuff that they're consuming, especially when it comes to criticisms of the United States. And like an example of this, for people like misinterpreting criticism of the United States for like patriotism is Fortunate Son. A lot of right wingers use that as like an idea of like say we're really cool and really awesome, when it is a criticism of like draft dodgers and the rich and wealthy using their wealth to not fight in these wars, such as President of the United States currently. But anyway, that's why I was kind of intrigued, is because I'm like, I've seen a lot of people completely misinterpret American criticisms and think that it's actually a way for people to say that they want to support the United States. And it's kind of curious if that like inability to interpret any themes or any like subtext in any way is going to extend to Steel Ball Run, which I'm assuming it will. But anyway, that was just kind of something I wanted to talk about because it's been on my mind for a while. And then once I saw this quote about the Johnny Joestar's voice actor saying he's mad about the White House using anime's propaganda, when like a lot of it is in fact criticisms of the United States or like injustices the United States are perpetuating. I'm just curious to see how everyone looks at it, which I'm assuming is not going to like have that much discourse, and there's going to be a bunch of dumbasses who just misinterpret it. But anyway, it's whatever. That's just what I wanted to talk about today. It was on my plate of the mind, and I wanted to speak on it. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.